Hey, welcome back to the channel. I got a lot of requests from the how to install EVE-NG, which you can see here, on once you've installed it, what do you do? So in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how you can create a lab, folder your labs, or put your labs into specific folders, as well as what the different login methods are or ways to access Eve from the login page are. What this video is not going to do is this video is not going to tell you how to go out and get images, because those images are copyrighted by the respective owners of those images. So that's something you guys would need to figure out on your own into how to get these images into EVE-NG. But without any further ado, let's switch to the screen share and let's see exactly what you need to do in order to create your first lab. All right, so here we are at the login screen for EVE-NG, and there's a few different ways you can log into it, or ways to interact with the platform once you're logged into it. So native console, what that's going to do is when you click on a device inside of a lab, it's going to open up your native console that's on your computer. HTML console is going to open up a console in a HTML browser inside of the lab. An HTML desktop, when you log in, it's actually going to present you with a emulated desktop that you can then interact with EVE-NG with. In this instance, just for simplicity, I normally use native console because I like using iTerm on my Mac. But we're going to use HTML console in the chance that if I do spin up a VM or a device that you'd be able to see how that works. So we're going to log in. And when you log in, you are brought to the main page of EVE-NG. So we have our file manager. So this is where you can actually create different folders and put labs in different folders, right? Management is actual management of the server. So it's node management if you're in a cluster, if you're running Eve Pro. Lab management, you can actually come in here and look at specifically what labs you have, the size, if they're running, who owns it, and you could actually do certain tasks with that here. User management will let you do exactly what that says. Actually manage the users that are on the server. System. So we have some system settings. It's just some cluster stuff. We can do some specific licensing checks. A couple of other things. Do we want to show or hide unprovisioned images? Which this is entirely up to you. Do you want to see all the images that Eve can handle, or do you only want to see the ones that you have currently on the system? Cluster settings, I don't have a cluster set up, so this is going to be exactly what it is, just the master and what's being used. Then in system status, this will be a lot cooler once stuff is actually running and you're seeing the amount of CPU that you're using, the amount of memory, and all that other fun info. System logs, just log information. And then this is where you can actually stop all the nodes in one spot. Information is going to bring you to assets from EVE-NG themselves. So whether it's their cookbook, the forum, the YouTube channel, or their live chat. Licensing, I'm not going to click into this because then my license information will be up there, but this is how you license EVE-NG Pro. Request it, upload it, and then you can look at the specific license details. So let's jump back to main. What we're going to do is we're going to create a new folder, and we are going to call this Eve 101. And then once we go into Eve 101, is where we can now create a lab. The only thing inside the lab you need to give is you need to give it a name. So we're going to call this Basic Lab 1. Version author, satellite, shared with. We can leave all this stuff as a default. Display grid, when you're actually in the topology editor, there's a grid. I actually like seeing the grid because I'm very particular about how my devices are set up. So I like seeing that specific grid. Description and task is just free-form text to where you can put in whatever you want to put in. So if we wanted to do some things, let's do version 1, author is Mike, satellite will be any. We're not sharing this with any other user. There's no countdown timer because it's not a lab where we're actually testing someone to complete something in a specific time set. Going to leave display grid alone. Lab description is, this is a cool description. And lab tasks, don't mess it up. All right, we're going to save this. And now we're in our topology editor. On the left-hand side of the screen, add an object is where you can actually add specific objects. So you can add your nodes, other network types, shapes. You can add text and lines onto it. Nodes is where you can actually see a list of all the nodes that are currently deployed in this specific lab. Networks, you can actually see all the networks that are in this lab as well. Startup configs, you could actually import startup configs. You can save startup configs. There's things you can do with startup configs where every time you launched a lab, if you want to wipe it out, you can always have a baseline. Configured objects will show you shapes and texts and stuff. More actions is just more actions you can do to things that are on the topology. So start all the nodes, stop all the nodes, wipe them, console to them all, export all the configs. You can edit the lab directly from here. So it'll bring you back to the lab properties screen and you can change around specific things about the lab. You can take a screenshot of the topology and then some more stuff with the startup config. This is the zoom out, zoom in button. Minimap is actually really cool. If the topology gets to be too big and you can't scroll between different sections of the topology, when you have Minimap on, you can actually take it and drag it to the different pieces of the topology. Just lab status, how much resources is this specific lab using? If we have any tasks, what the detail of the lab is, right? So this is coming from the right-hand side of when we actually created the lab. Tasks, we can come in and we can actually create tasks for the lab. This one, we have no task, and the lab tasks are actually in HTML form. We can lock it. We can chat to people who are in the lab. So if we're an admin and there's other people in the lab, we can be like, hey, restarting routers 4 through 6, for whatever reason. We could full screen it, hide the labels, turn it into dark mode, which I'm going to do because I need dark mode because of my eyes, close lab and log out. So let's add some objects. So we're going to add 2 nodes. We're going to add a network, and we're going to do some other cool things so we can see how all that lays out. So we are going to add, we're going to go to, why am I blanking? Arista. Thank you. We're going to add an Arista switch. So now in here is where we're prompted with specific things. Instance path, we want to leave blank. That will auto-fill in. We can pick the image that we want. So we're going to pick a specific image. We can change the icon. We can give it a prefix. So whatever prefix we give it, what it will do if we add multiple to it, whatever the VM number is what it'll prepend to the name or the prefix. So in this instance, if we do SW-0, it'll spin up a 1 and a 2. Satellite, this will install it on any satellite since there's only one it'll only put it on the specific satellite, or it will only deploy it to the only machine I have. Startup config, I have no standard startup config for this, so we can leave it as none. We can change it to default. We can change it however we want it. We can alter the position of where they get deployed on the screen by changing the X and Y axis. And then typically inside of additional settings, I really don't mess with anything. I leave everything the same. Whatever the defaults are is what I leave it as. The only thing I may change is the console. So if the console came in as VNC or RDP, if I was able to, if it wasn't a GUI, I would change it to Telnet. So this way it would be easier for me to access it from a console, whether it be the HTML console or the default console that I would use for Eve. When I click save, it's going to deploy those two guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a few more things. We're going to add a network. I'm going to call this management. I could change this icon if I wanted to change this icon too. So let's change it to Globe 2D Blue. And this is where it's going to get interesting, and you have to know how Eve maps out interfaces. If you'd like to know how Eve does map out interfaces, drop it in the description below, and I'll either create a video or a blog post on it. Right now, I know that my management interface is Cloud 0, so we're going to pick Cloud 0. Again, let me change the, just so you can see, 3030 would put it in the corner that was over here. So if I change it to 300, 500, it'll drop it on a new spot on the map. And then let's add a custom shape. So we're going to add U. The border type is going to be dashed. The border width is going to be 10. The border color, let's just have some fun with it. Make it a red. Let's make that border width a little smaller. So we want to add that shape. We see that shape got added there. And if we want to, we can right click it and we can duplicate that shape if we wanted to. And then we can come in and we can edit the new shape. So we'll make him blue and we'll make this one transparent so we can actually see the background. All right, now let's also add a little bit of text. So this we will call this. We can come in here and actually edit the text. Still, oh, this is actually editing the box, not the text. So let's move that out of the way. Let's grab the text down to make it easier to manipulate it. And then we can come in here, we can do whatever you wanted to name it. So this would be blue zone because we're in the blue zone. And then we can modify anything we want to modify here. So same as if you're in a text editor, right? Come in, do all whatever you need to do color-wise, anything like that. I know it's weird seeing blue zone in green. We're going to duplicate this one, which that duplicated the shape, which I didn't want to do. Let's move the shape out of the way until we're actually done with the text. Now we can duplicate the text. And then this will be, we'll call this one red zone, but instead of making it that color, we will make it purple. So we can see the differences and just like in Visio, send it to the back. So now stuff starts to stack on top. Now, when you look at configured objects, you'll see that we now have the text exactly what we did. You wanted to delete it direct from here, you can click delete it directly from here. And right, so that's how you could interact with elements. Now let's connect the guys together. So it may be a little bit difficult to see on the dark background, but there's actually a network, a RJ45 jack that shows up on the switch or shows up on the device when I hover over it. All you have to do is click and move it over. This is where you create your link. And now I can say I want these guys to be in specific interfaces and save it. Same thing with management, right? So if I want to come in, add stuff to the management, I can do the same thing. Luckily, Aristas have management interfaces, so we can just come in and do that. You may see some weirdness depending on how quick you do things. A quick refresh will get you right back to where you should be. All right, so now how do we start these guys? There's two ways. First, what I wanted to show is if you wanted to move them around, obviously you click and hold, you can move it around. You'll see an arrow. See it better on the white background. That arrow makes the switch bigger or smaller, or makes the network element bigger or smaller, and it's actually on everything. So it's on any element that's on the topology diagram will have one of those arrows where you can make it bigger and smaller, where you can make the width a specific size. So how do we start them? We can come in, go to nodes. We can start them all from here. So I'm going to start switch 2 directly from the configured nodes panel. Now you'll see he'll kick over and start. You can go into more actions. You can start all nodes, or you can right click it and you can click start. So now these guys are starting up, and you'll notice they'll start it, that they're started is there'll be a little play button next to it, which means that the switch is on, or the network element on the topology is on. Doesn't always have to be a switch, could be a multitude of other things. Now, how do we console to them? Again, several different ways, right? Configured objects, more actions, console to all nodes, or if you wanted to console specifically to a singular device, just click it and it will load. So we'll do that to both of them. And we're not going to worry about configuring them. This is just a quick show around the EVNG UI. If you want to toggle between them, so if you have several of them, you'll see on the bottom, you can actually toggle between whichever one you want. You can minimize them all at once. You can go back into them one by one. You can make it transparent. So if you're not working on that one right away, but you still need to see the topology, you can actually make the console transparent. And then to close them, just hit the X. You can make it full screen by clicking the full screen button, and then non-full screen by pushing that again. Then we're going to just close this. So now, how do you stop them when you're done? Now, technically, you don't need to stop them when you're done. You can just close lab, and then those guys will be running indefinitely. So now if I do go into management and node management, management and lab management, we'll see we have a lab that's running, and this is currently the amount of CPU and memory that it's using. I can stop it directly from here because I am logged in as an admin, or I can go in and I can launch right into that lab environment from that window. Now, what if you're done and you do want to turn them off? Very simple. Under more actions, we can stop all nodes. Same way we started them, we can go into nodes and we can just come in here and we can stop as we want to. We can get node details directly from here, so you can kind of see a rolling CPU and memory average for this specific VM. Or you can right click it and you can do stop and shut down, which it got a little click happy and I got ahead of myself. And then from here is where you can wipe them all. If you wanted to completely start fresh, we can export all the configurations. We can take a topology screenshot, and this is what the preview is going to look like. And then we can download it, save it, do whatever we want to do with it. Let me make this a little bit bigger so it looks like a bigger topology. And yes, I'm not bringing anything else with me. This is to show minimap. So you need to get across everything. How can you see everything in here? Let me move myself up for a minute. Let's turn on minimap. And now you can come into minimap and you can move around the topology as if, and you can get very granular in how you look at the topology. Look at the topology with minimap. Let's go back down in the corner. When you're done, very easily, we can log out completely from Eve. So if we did that, it would bring us back to the login screen where we would have to log back in again. Which when you do log back in, it will take you to the last lab that you were in. We can close this guy. And now that we're done and we're not going to use him anymore, we can actually come in here, delete, and say goodbye to that lab. So that is a quick overview of how to navigate the Eve UI, how to create some folders, how to create a lab, how to put network devices onto the topology, as well as how to move around the topology and how to do things with the devices once they're in. If you found this video useful or helpful, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, because we have a lot more cool stuff coming in the next couple of weeks. Thank you for watching and have a great rest of your day.